r/AskReddit. What's an oh shit moment where you realized you've been doing something the wrong way for years? As a boy, I had an unconventional method for masturbating. It would require a diagram to get across all its subtleties, but let's just say that it required 2 hands, was not intuitive, and simulated no known sex act. It was suboptimal. After a year or so of convoluted self-abuse, one of the older kids made the international jerk-off hand gesture towards me. My jaw dropped. I instantly knew that I had been doing it wrong all that time. It was so simple, so obvious, way quieter, and way more effective. I tried it that night and never looked back. That dude changed my life. Thank you, Chris Eastman. Edit. None of the guesses are even remotely close. I had a used car and didn't realize until a couple years later that it had remote start. Person buying my now more used car. This has remote start? Me. No. Person pushes button, starts car. Me. When I was 5, a Pizza Hut employee told me that the powder on the breadsticks was called fairy dust. Ordered extra fairy dust on my breadsticks until I was around 14 when an employee said back, quote, "Do you mean garlic salt?" It still devastates me to realize how obtuse I was. It wasn't very long, but when I was learning to drive, my dad was explaining the rule of thumb regarding a safe distance to be behind the car in front of you. I thought it meant to hold your thumb up, and if your thumb didn't cover the entire car you were too close to it. When he caught me doing that, he asked me what I was doing. When I explained, he burst out laughing, then considered it and concluded it wasn't a bad idea, but perhaps a bit distracting. Until last week, when my father-in-law would made a phone call on his very basic non-touch screen flip phone. He would open the menu, scroll to the phone icon, open it, hit the soft key for contacts, scroll to the person he wanted to call, press OK, then press the soft key to call. When he mentioned how he preferred his landline because he could just dial the number, I said, humor me. Just dial the number and hit the talk button. I've never seen a man so simultaneously grateful and embarrassed. Couple years ago, I was trying to open some toothpaste and had to break the seal of the tube. I used to look for something like a nail to break it. Then one day I looked at the pointy end of the cap and thought, what if I could use this to break it? And oh shit, it did fit and broke it effortless. And so did every other tube product I had in the house and their respective cap. My mind was blown. Edit. Changed dental paste to toothpaste since it sounds weird in English. Since the dawn of time, I would pick up the silverware and utensils out of their tray in the dishwasher and put them away in their drawers, then go back and pick up more out of the dishwasher. Then one day I saw my wife lift the tray out of the dishwasher and I legit stood there with my mouth open. I always thought eggplant tasted itchy, like itchy was a flavor, like sour or salty. Fed some to my baby and his face turned red wherever the eggplant touched, and I realized we are both just allergic to eggplant. And itchy isn't a flavor. Edit. Thank you for the silver, kind internet strangers. When I was a kid, I loved drinking coffee, but didn't know how to make it. My mom taught me, but the coffee ratio she told me to use was like 1 TBSP per 1 pot of coffee, as opposed to the actual ratio 1 TBSP 1 cup of water. Fast forward about 13 years to a couple months ago, and I was reading the back of my Folgers coffee thing and there was a little diagram showing how much to actually use. I then realized my mom had told me the wrong amount, so I wouldn't drink all her coffee, and B, wasn't super hyped up going into school. No one really ever told me you don't need to buy shoes with the back quote 2 fingers space in front of the toes after your feet stop growing. I had been buying an entire size too big until about age 23. One day in college, I decided to try a pair of Merrell barefoot type shoes, and after reading the sizing guide, bam, mind blown. It's terribly obvious mistake I, 29F, like to blame on being an only child, but really I'm just a fucking moron. I grew up without a mom. She passed when I was 6. I was afraid to ask my dad how to put a tampon in. One day I made a comment about age 18 to some friends that tampons hang out too far out your pajingo, and made me feel like I waddled when I walk. My friend asked me how I put them in. I thought it would get stuck up there and wasn't inserting it far enough. Did it wrong for about 5 years. My friends still make fun of me for it. I can't help but use the dead mom card, but looking back it's pretty common sense how to shove it up there. I owned a car with swivel headlights, and it was very nice to have that. Discovered 3 years in that I had never turned on the swivel feature. My name is Ryan. It took me until I was in first grade to realize my name wasn't in the alphabet. My mom had told me my name was in the alphabet, and I felt so lucky. She obviously meant the letters to spell my name were in the alphabet. But nope. It took that long to realize the alphabet didn't go W, X, Y and Z. Last month was the first time I discovered lint rollers were peelable. Literally sat there for a minute to take that in. Edit, I'm 20. My eldest child had a penchant for blowing out of his diapers. We tried everything, but multiple times a week we had to pull that poo-filled onishi over his head and inevitably give our now super duper poo covered infant a bath. Around when I was pregnant with our second, a post went viral about how infant onases are designed to be broad at the shoulders, so you can pull them down and off instead of over the head. Poor kid would have had so many fewer poo in hair incidents had I known that then. Realize the multicolored tape measures glued to the door frames of gas stations etc. are for identifying robbers, not for measuring yourself as you walk out. I mean, they can be, but that's not why they are there. Unless you're the robber. Not mine, but my dad has been spelling his name wrong his whole life. He's 51. His name is Jeffrey, and he's been spelling it like that since he learned how to spell his name. A few months ago my mom pulled out his birth certificate, and we all learned it's actually spelled Jeffrey. Not sure if he spells it correctly now, but it was definitely an oh shit moment for him. Learned earlier last year bust a nut isn't an expression for when something hits your nuts, or you land in a way that crushes them. I used to fill the kettle by the spout. My parents have always done it this way. I thought the center part was mainly for decoration, but not functional. I don't know why I never questioned this. One day I bought a new tea kettle and my husband was like, WTF, what is inside this? And with great ease, opened the center to pull out a manual with instructions and whatnot. I was drinking dirty paper water for like 2 weeks. When I first got a debit card and would go out to eat at restaurants with my friends, I would leave a cash tip on the table. When I got the receipt to put how much I was paying, I would write down how much money I left on the table. For at least 6 months I gave double tips to every waitress I had. Edit, word. When I was a kid, I was told that the paper that came on cupcakes / muffins was edible. I would spend a decade eating them like this, paper and all, until a friend pointed it out. I'm lactose intolerant. I genuinely did not know this for the first 25+ years of my life. I always had to go to the bathroom after eating something with cheese in it. One day it just clicked. I bought some Lactaid, took it before the next time I ate cheese, and I didn't have to go to the bathroom. It was mind-blowing. I have no idea how I didn't make the connection for years. So I guess you could say instead of having a oh shit moment I had an oh shit moment. My family always had a cup next to the bathroom sink in case you needed to rinse your mouth after brushing your teeth or maybe get a quick drink of water in the middle of the night. My grandma had the same cup at her house. I used it for years whenever I was thirsty. One day she saw me doing this and said, "Don't use that cup. That's where grandma puts her teeth." I didn't realize I had to brush the back of my teeth as well as the front. I was a dumb kid. I blamed toothpaste adverts until I was 15. Had 9 filings and a root canal. I'm 32 years old and I just learned how to floss properly. I went to see my in-law because she promised me a free teeth cleaning. She was freaked out because I apparently floss way too hard. I have scars in my gums from repeatedly cutting them with floss in the same place. And she taught me that floss is supposed to hug both sides of the tooth and it's to help remove plaque and food particles. I just assumed if it hurts it means there's something wrong or stuck, so floss harder. I was always confused about bleeding gums because my gums always bled when I flossed. Yeah, because I was literally cutting them. I didn't find out that I was supposed to punch out for lunch until my 3rd job. And even then it was because a coworker mentioned it in passing that they were clocking out for lunch. Former school nurse here. The number of high school boys who don't know what circumcision is amazingly high. Many think they were born circumcised. When they finally see a foreskin, they are in complete awe. When they find out the brown ring on their penis is a scar from when their foreskin was removed, they are also amazed. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment and subscribe. The support is greatly appreciated. Turn that notification bell on to never miss a video, and continue the conversation in the comment section below.